Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Farah Elsa. I'm a representative student from the Faculty of Law Syiah Kuala University, Pemilihan Mahasiswa Berprestasi 2015. Now, I want to explain more the problematic, the applications of the criminal brief based on the canon from the perspective of law enforcement to the justice and human rights in Indonesia.
Ratusan warga Banda Aceh menyaksikan hukum cambuk bagi para penjudi yang tertangkap polisi.
So, before why I choose this topic? Because, as we know, there are so many human rights violations happen in Indonesia, and this make broken the meaning human right itself. So, I research here to analyze what are the factors that make the perspective, the criminal offense as the human rights violation. Many people say that the criminal whip as the human rights violation. Aceh is one of the province in Indonesia, the implementation of the criminal whip. So, what is your opinion? Is it human rights violation or not? Before I want to explain about the definitions of the human rights. The Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia, 1945, states that human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, whatever our nationality, like our residence, sex, ethnic origin, language, color, or any other status. We are all equal, entitled to our human rights without discrimination. These are all interrelated, interdependent, and indivisible. And how about the relation between the right and the obligation? In this modern era, the right gets more increased than the obligation. Why? Because many people just only think about the right than the obligation. Actually, the government has three obligations. First, the obligation to respect, the obligation to protect, and the obligation to fulfill. The obligation to respect means that the state must respect the human rights each other. And the second, human right to protect, it means that the state must protect the human rights, individual or group, against the human rights abuses or human rights violations. And lastly, the obligation to fulfill, it means that the state must take positive actions to facilitate the enjoyment of basic of the human rights. At the individual level, while we entitled to our human right without discrimination, as humans, we should also respect the human rights each other. And now what are the characteristics of the human right? The characteristic of human right is three. First is the human right is equal, inalienable, and universal. The meaning of the human right is inalienable. It means that the human right is limitation in specific conditions. I would like to give a case when someone was found doing a crime. So the right to have a job, the right to have education is limitation because he must be punished by the government. Indonesia, as the Lord said, has a sovereignty and independent constitution to regulate and manage the public society to order and peaceful. The Constitution of Republic Indonesia in 1945, in the Article 28G, the protection of self, family, dignity, honor, property, and freedom from torture. This article explains that everyone has the right to be free from torture. No one can be punished that is cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. Aceh is the only province in Indonesia that on the special autonomy has full authority to implementation of Islamic jurisprudence. This paper aims to investigate the applications of the criminal whip based on the pattern from the perspective of law enforcement to the justice and human rights in Indonesia. Basically, the criminal whip has been explained in the Quran, which is applied in Islamic criminal law to repair, prevent, and educate. However, the use and the applications of criminal whip by certain people, by certain circles, with the view as performed by citizen actions, torture, and contrary with the conventions against torture that had been ratified by Indonesia. This is make the negative claim that the criminal whip and all penalties contained in the Canon Aceh as a form of torture as human rights violations. After having analyzed, there are four elements that cause many perspectives. Those are first, in terms of the process, the formation of the substance of infrastructure and law enforcement apparatus, and justice, the public security. Besides of that, there are the factors which is the differences between Western versions and Islamic versions how they look the human rights. In the context of legal normative, Kanun was legal formal because it has been through the process of the evolution shaped by the central government. So this happened because of the differences being as universal. The people more think about the perspective than the procedural aspect and legal formal. The effort that I can recommend through my paper to make a good understanding of the implementation of the criminal law, because basically the regulation is already accessed but less well in the implementation, so makes the other perspective that the criminal law as human rights violation. So how about my questions before? The conclusion is the applications of the criminal law is not human rights violation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.